My half-brother, a master manipulator who could cry on command, had his sights set on my girlfriend. During a party at the hotel pool, he deliberately tripped and pitched himself into the water, pretending to drown while flailing dramatically in Chloe's direction. Chloe just rolled her eyes, grabbed my hand, and started pulling me away. "No way in hell am I saving him," she muttered, her voice dripping with disdain. "He'd be all over me, and then you'd think I was tainted. I'm not risking that." What my pathetic brother, Leo, didn't know was that Chloe had a bizarre, almost psychosomatic allergy to any man who wasn't me. Get too close, and she'd get short of breath, her heart would race, and she could even faint. Chloe had always been this cool, untouchable ice queen to the rest of the world. But ever since we got together and she realized I didn't trigger her condition, she'd done a complete 180. The aloof goddess had morphed into a love-addled romantic, talking about engagement after 2 months and trying to drag me to the courthouse by the 6-month mark. To put my mind at ease, she'd already had the deed to her River North condo transferred into my name and given me a black card linked to her primary account. She was so worried I'd say no to a proposal that she decided to do it in public. But just as she was about to pop the question, a familiar, cloying voice cut through the air. "Ethan, you're getting engaged? And you weren't going to tell Dad, our mom, or me. Are you still mad at us?" It was Leo. He's a year younger than me. After my mom passed away, his mother seamlessly moved into our family home and married my dad. From the moment Leo arrived, everything started going right for my father's business. Everyone called Leo a good luck charm. But it wasn't enough for him. He saw me, the firstborn son, as an obstacle standing between him and his inheritance. He spent years setting me up, poisoning my father and stepmother against me until they couldn't stand the sight of me. The day I was supposed to take my SATs, he slipped a powerful laxative into my breakfast. I bombed the test. When I tried to tell my dad what happened, he accused me of making up malicious lies to frame my innocent little brother. Heartbroken and fed up, I left for college and cut off all contact with them. "Ethan, is that your brother?" Chloe asked, her hand tightening around mine. I snapped back to the present and nodded grimly. Leo's eyes were glued to Chloe. With her flawless skin and stunning features, she was more beautiful than any celebrity, and she never wore a drop of makeup. He practically drooled as he stepped forward, extending a hand. "You must be my future sister-in-law. I'm Leo, a year younger than Ethan, 6'1", 150. I'm into basketball and music." He sidled closer to her as he spoke. Here we go again. That old habit of his, wanting whatever was mine. Chloe's brow furrowed. She took a step back, hiding behind me. "Honey," she whispered, "please don't ever get that skinny. A bag of bones like that is just ugly and unhealthy." Leo's face fell. His carefully sculpted gym body and trendy haircut, the two things he was most proud of, were utterly lost on her. I chuckled, playing along. "Hey, be nice. What do you mean, bag of bones? Being lean is in right now. I don't care if it's in. It's not healthy. Don't you go getting any ideas from him," Chloe said, her voice just loud enough for the approaching Leo to hear. She then turned back to him, as if just remembering he was there, and flashed a dazzling smile. "Hi, I'm Chloe Sterling. It's nice to meet you." The gears were turning in Leo's head. I knew that look. He was cooking up some fresh hell. He asked with feigned innocence, "Ethan, what happened to that girl you were so serious about in high school? You guys broke up? I mean, she met our parents and everything. I thought you two were a sure thing." I was speechless. I never had a girlfriend in high school, let alone brought one home. There was a girl who had an obsessive crush on me and followed me everywhere until the teachers and our parents had to get involved. The worst part? My father decided it was my fault, quoting that old victim-blaming line. "Where there's smoke, there's fire. You must have done something to lead her on." Chloe responded before I could, her tone arctic. "Everyone has a past. Besides, who says dating in high school means you have to get married? Seriously, you need to get with the 21st century." Leo's attempt to drive a wedge between us had earned him a lecture. His lip quivered. "I'm sorry, Chloe. I just speak my mind. I didn't mean anything by it." His eyes reddened, as if he were about to burst into tears. It was a trick that always worked on my father, melting his heart instantly. Chloe, however, was not my father. She didn't buy it for a second. "Well, Ethan and I are going to dinner now. Goodbye." "Oh, I haven't eaten either." Leo's face brightened instantly. "Let me join you. Consider it my apology to my big brother." "Apology, my ass?" This was his way of ruining my night. Chloe's expression hardened. and she was about to refuse when I gently squeezed her hand. It's fine. Let him come. If we didn't, he'd just find another way to follow us. He never gave up until he got what he wanted. At the restaurant, Leo immediately slid into the booth next to Chloe. My brother likes to have his space, he explained with a syrupy smile. You don't mind if I sit here, do you? He pressed a little closer. Chloe stood up abruptly, pinching her nose. Sorry, she said, her voice strained. I'm allergic to cheap cologne. She then slid in next to me. I knew for a fact she wasn't allergic to cologne. She'd bought me several bottles of it herself and loved to bury her face in my neck, telling me how good I smelled. The waiter brought our food, including the lobster bisque Chloe had ordered specially for me. The moment it was set down, Leo snatched it and placed it in front of himself. Lobster bisque is my favorite. Thanks for ordering it for me, Chloe. He'd barely finished his sentence before Chloe stood up, took the bowl from him, and placed it squarely in front of me. I ordered that for Ethan. Leo's smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure humiliation. He recovered quickly, forcing a magnanimous tone. Oh, right. My brother's always had a weak constitution. A little frail, you know? He needs to build himself up. Chloe shot him a withering glance. Ethan is in much better shape than you are. He doesn't need building up. He just likes the taste. Besides, the lobster bisque at my family's hotel is our signature dish. At the mention of her family's hotel, Leo's face turned a sickly green. When I first met him, your brother was a little down on his luck, Chloe continued, as if she didn't notice Leo's face going from green to purple. My parents were so worried about him. They had the chef make him a bowl every single day. That, plus a good workout routine, and now look at him. She took a few quick bites of her own food, then stood up, pulling me with her. Now, if you'll excuse us, I'm going to teach my fiancé how to swim. We won't be needing your company. Back in our suite, Chloe changed into her swimsuit. The light from above cascaded over her, highlighting every perfect curve. Fair skin, long legs, a tiny waist. I couldn't help but stare. Ethan, what are you waiting for? Go change, she said, holding up a pair of skin-tight swim briefs. She definitely had ulterior motives. You go on ahead, I said. I just need to use the restroom. As soon as Chloe was out the door, I changed into a pair of normal, comfortable swim trunks. Freedom. When I got down to the pool, Chloe had told me the manager was clearing it for us. But when I arrived, I saw two figures by the water. Chloe, and a man I recognized instantly. Leo. Chloe, I want to learn how to swim too. Can you teach me? He whined, practically clinging to her. He was wearing a pair of ridiculously tiny, tight swim briefs that looked more like underwear than swimwear. As he pleaded, his body swayed uncomfortably. What he didn't realize was that Chloe was a paragon of loyalty. She maintained a strict 2-foot buffer between them at all times. Sorry, I'm only teaching your brother, she said flatly. He's afraid of the water and won't go in by himself. Not me, I'm brave. If you teach me, I'll learn super fast. Before he could finish, Leo's foot slipped, and he lunged directly at Chloe. If he'd connected, they would have tumbled into the pool together, setting the stage for his dramatic, made-for-TV rescue scene. But Chloe, as if anticipating it, took a nimble step to the side. Splash! Leo hit the water with a loud smack, sending a plume of water into the air. Chloe immediately jumped back, terrified of getting a single drop on her, as if the water were toxic. I fought back a laugh, but it was too late. Chloe's head snapped in my direction, her internal radar having caught me in the act. She marched over, grabbed my arm, and started pulling me away from the pool deck. You heartless jerk, she pouted. I wait for you forever, and you just stand there watching the show. Seeing her cheeks puffed out like a little pufferfish, I quickly patted her hand. I just got here, I swear. Chloe glanced down at my swim trunks. Why aren't you wearing the ones I picked out? Don't you like them? She asked, a hint of jealousy in her voice. I dreaded her getting into one of her moods. Of course I like them, I said soothingly, but they're a little snug. If my brother saw me in them, he might think I was trying to show him up or something. Meanwhile, the forgotten Leo was thrashing in the pool, slapping the water to get our attention. Chloe, you're just going to watch me fall in? I can't swim. Help. His words were choked and intermittent as he swallowed mouthfuls of pool water. He was really selling it. The kid won a silver medal in the city's junior swimming championships when he was in elementary school. And now he was telling me he couldn't swim? His acting was convincing, I'll give him that. A real non-swimmer like me would be panicking and unable to even stand up in the shallow end. Chloe looked at me, a flicker of concern on her face. Is he really a bad swimmer? I stroked her hair. He's hopeless. You should probably go save him. Hearing this, Leo's face lit up, though he kept up the act. Chloe, save me. Chloe shot me a glare and put her hands on her hips. Humph. If I go save him, I'll feel all gross and contaminated. What if you don't want me after that? No way. I wouldn't save him if my life depended on it. I almost applauded. The woman was a fortress. But Leo, still splashing around, hadn't heard her. He was waiting for his princess to rescue him. I sighed dramatically. Well, what are we going to do about Leo? We can't just let him drown. I was joking, of course. Chloe probably couldn't swim as well as he could. Chloe shook her head. Don't worry. I've got this. She made a quick phone call. A moment later, a lifeguard with a chiseled 8-pack came jogging over. He saw Leo in the pool, a strange smile flickering across his face, then dove in. Just as the lifeguard was about to grab him, Leo started struggling even more wildly, still hoping Chloe would be the one to save him. In his frantic thrashing, his tiny swim briefs slipped right off. Chloe immediately turned her back, grabbing my arm and rushing me away. Don't worry, she said. He'll be fine. Gotcha! The lifeguard yelled, powering through the water toward him. A little while later, Leo emerged from the locker room wrapped in a large towel, his eyes red and brimming with tears. He looked at us with a wounded expression. Ethan, I know you don't like me, but you can't just stand by and watch me die. Did he really think I had stopped Chloe from saving him? Chloe shot back. If we left you to die, are we talking to a ghost right now? The anger in her voice was palpable. It finally dawned on me that Leo had ruined 2 of her big romantic moments today alone. No wonder she was pissed. Leo's eyes widened in disbelief. Chloe, how can you say that? I know you have a good heart. It must have been my brother who stopped you from helping me. I almost died back there. He punctuated his speech with a pathetic little shoulder shiver, his face pale and pitiful. Chloe just snorted. It was my decision. Don't flatter yourself. She added, I have an allergy to men. That's why I couldn't get in the water to save you. Leo pointed at Chloe's hand, which was wrapped tightly around my arm. The question was obvious, but before he could ask it, Chloe cut him off. Except for your brother. Leo's face turned green again. Before he could formulate a response, Chloe's voice turned sharp. You faked your way in here by pretending to be a guest of your brother's. I'll let it slide this time, but if you try anything like this again, I'll have that lifeguard throw you out on your ass. Hearing that, Leo froze, then slunk away without another word. Before dinner, my stepmother called. She told me to bring Chloe home the next day. Judging by her bitter tone, Leo had already run home to tattle. Of course he did. It wouldn't be a normal week otherwise. But this time, I couldn't refuse. Tomorrow was my father's birthday. When Chloe found out my dad wanted to meet her, she wasn't nervous at all. In fact, she was thrilled, excitedly chattering about what gifts to get them. She looked herself up and down. Ethan, do you think I should get my hair done? Buy a nice, conservative dress? I have to make a good first impression on your parents. Watching her dance around the room, I had to shake my head. Don't get your hopes up. My dad and stepmom will find a way to be disappointed. They could find fault in a saint. Don't worry. I have faith in myself, she said, her confidence unwavering. The man who helped create someone as wonderful as you can't be all that bad. They're going to love me. Seeing the doubt still lingering on my face, Chloe turned on the charm, wrapping her arms around my neck like a seductive siren. She didn't let up until I was leaning against the wall for support, begging for mercy. Okay, I believe you. You're the best. And my parents will definitely love you. Only then did she finally relent. The next day, Chloe had her driver show up in a vehicle that was basically a U-Haul, packed to the brim with gifts. My father and stepmother were waiting for us in the living room, poised for battle. But Chloe's offensive was overwhelming. A truckload of presents, stunning looks, a killer figure, and a top-tier education and family background to boot. There was absolutely nothing they could find to criticize. Well, my father conceded. Our Ethan really hit the jackpot with this one. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. That was how it always was. If I succeeded, it was pure luck. If I failed, I got an earful. I was used to it. It didn't matter anymore. Dad, I said, deciding to press the advantage. Since you think Chloe is so great, can I have my birth certificate? We're planning on getting our marriage license. I held out my hand. Chloe had done so much for me. If it weren't for my own insecurities and fear of losing her, I would have married her months ago. My father's brow furrowed, his expression souring. I had someone look into it. Your astrological charts are completely incompatible. Marriage is out of the question. I couldn't believe it. Even with someone as perfect as Chloe, he still had to invent a reason to stand in our way. And then it got worse. He turned to Leo, his face breaking into a warm, paternal smile. Leo and Chloe, on the other hand, are a perfect match. Their charts complement each other. It's a union written in the stars. They'll have a long, happy life and many children. He then turned back to me, his smile vanishing. Ethan, you should let your brother have Chloe. I felt a tremor run through my body, as if I'd been plunged into an icy cavern. For a split second, I wondered if this man was even my real father. Growing up, it was always, you're the older brother, you have to give in to him. As he handed my toys, my snacks, my new clothes over to Leo. But this was different. They were talking about Chloe as if she were an object, a thing to be passed along. My face hardened as I stood up. Impossible. I refuse. My father pointed a trembling finger at me. You insolent brat. Are you rebelling against me now? She's just a woman. Do you have to be so selfish? Just as I was about to unleash a tirade, I heard Leo yelp. I looked over and saw that he had picked up the teapot, intending to pour Chloe a cup, but he'd accidentally spilled the hot tea all over her white, knee-length skirt, the stain spreading alarmingly close to her waist. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me get that for you, he said, grabbing a napkin. His mouth spouted apologies, but his eyes glinted with excitement as he reached for her skirt. Chloe intercepted his hand and took the napkin from him. It's fine. I can do it myself. My father's presence was the only thing keeping her from her usual, less-than-polite response to being touched. But Leo shamelessly leaned in closer. Don't be shy, Chloe. A wet skirt must be so uncomfortable. He made another attempt to dab at the stain, spotting a vintage-looking feather duster on the mantelpiece. Chloe snatched it and brought it down hard on his outstretched hand. Leo cried out in pain. Ow! Chloe, why did you hit me? Chloe pressed her palms together, her face a mask of innocence. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to block your hand. I guess I used a little too much force. My bad. As Leo blew on the angry red welt forming on his hand, I had to summon every sad thought I could think of to keep from laughing out loud. Mastering my expression, I looked at him with faux concern. Leo, she didn't mean it. Maybe you should go put some ointment on that. My stepmother quickly chimed in. Yes, we wouldn't want it to scar. Before Leo could say more, Chloe grabbed my hand and stood up. Ethan, show me where the restroom is. I have a brand new skirt you can wear, my stepmother offered. Thank you, ma'am, but that's not necessary. A hairdryer will do the trick, Chloe replied politely. She had a severe case of germophobia. She would never wear someone else's clothes, not even new ones. After we finally got her skirt dry, Chloe excitedly grabbed my hand, wanting a tour of my old room. She wanted to see the place where I grew up. She said, I couldn't resist her when she got sentimental. That vixen. No wonder men throughout history have done crazy things for women. My room was at the far end of the second floor, facing north, so it was shrouded in gloom for most of the year. Inside was a single bed, a flimsy cloth wardrobe, and a rickety old desk with a warped surface. I hadn't lived there in years, and no one had bothered to clean it. A thick layer of dust covered everything, and the air was thick with the smell of mildew. Chloe, who had been bubbling with excitement moments before, opened the door and her face instantly turned to stone. This is where you lived. I shrugged helplessly. It was hard to believe I knew. The house had 5 bedrooms, and mine was worse than the storage shed out back. Chloe grabbed my hand. Her other hand clenched into a fist so tight her knuckles turned white. Let's go. We're going to have a talk with your parents. What kind of people treat their own child like this? Her eyes were red, her voice trembling with rage. I quickly pulled her into a hug. It's okay. Don't get upset. It's all in the past. I haven't stayed here since I left for college. My father had called to yell at me about it a few times, his drunken tirades being the worst. Humph. We are not just letting this go, she fumed. And to think, I brought a truck full of gifts hoping to get their blessing. She deeply regretted coming. Not only had she been disgusted by Leo, but she'd also discovered my father didn't see me as a son at all. Ethan, it's my fault, she whispered, her anger melting into sorrow. You never talk about your family, and I should have realized they treated you badly. I'm so sorry. I wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. You fool. What are you crying for? It's not your fault. It's mine for not telling you. You love me just like my late mother did. You can do no wrong. Chloe hugged me tightly. I am at fault for showing up in your life too late. From now on, if anyone bullies you, I will make them regret it, she said, her voice fierce with determination. I didn't doubt her for a second. She kept a natural distance from most people, but she was viciously protective of her own. As we started down the stairs, Chloe's face was still a cold mask. Can you believe the nerve of that girlfriend Ethan brought home? We heard my stepmother's voice drift up from the living room. She hit our poor Leo's hand so hard it's swollen. Leo, who had ears like a bat, heard us on the stairs and said with his back to us, Mom, don't say that. I'm sure Chloe didn't mean to do it. Oh, I think she did it on purpose. And yesterday at her family's hotel pool, you slipped and nearly drowned. And it's all Ethan's fault for not letting her save you. I paused on the step, intrigued to hear how Leo would spin this fantasy. Chloe's expression grew dangerously dark, a look I had never seen directed at me. She started to march down to confront them, but I quickly grabbed her arm and shook my head, signaling her to stay quiet. What's this about slipping and drowning? My father, apparently, was not yet in on the lie. He pressed for details. Just then, Chloe and I reached the bottom of the stairs. I looked at Leo and smiled. Yeah, Leo, what's all this about slipping and drowning? Do tell. A flash of panic crossed Leo's face before he forced a smile. It's nothing, Ethan. Just a misunderstanding. It all happened so fast. I'm sure you wouldn't have just stood by and let me die otherwise. My stepmother whispered a few frantic words in my father's ear. His face contorted with rage. Leo quickly stepped in. Dad, Mom, it's fine, really. It was all a misunderstanding. My brother didn't mean for it to happen. My father shot up from his chair and shoved me hard. Misunderstanding? You're still defending him? You almost drowned. I stumbled backward, about to fall, but Chloe, her legs half bent, caught me and held me steady. I could feel a palpable wave of fury radiating from her, like something out of a fantasy novel. After she helped me up, she saw my stepmother storming toward us. Without a moment's hesitation, Chloe kicked out, striking my stepmother squarely on the knee. She collapsed onto the sofa, pointing a trembling finger at us, too stunned and furious to speak. My father and Leo froze, completely dumbfounded by Chloe's sudden violence. Chloe turned to me, her eyes filled with pain and guilt. Honey, let's go. We are never coming back to this house again. As we reached the front door, my father and Leo finally snapped out of their shock. You ungrateful brat. Stop right there, my father yelled, his voice cracking with rage. Chloe didn't break stride, pulling me toward the door. Seeing us leave, my father played his final card. You want your birth certificate, don't you? Or do you not want to get married anymore? I turned and looked back at the family I was leaving behind, my voice cold and flat. If I had known you were all still the same, I never would have come back. You can keep it. I was resolute when I left, but later that night, the reality hit me. How were we supposed to get a marriage license without the proper documents? Chloe took my hand, her expression serious. Honey, you don't necessarily need your original birth certificate to get married. There are new regulations. A valid ID is enough. I looked at her skeptically. Are you sure? She nodded emphatically. And even if that weren't the case, you can still get a license without it. It just involves a bit more paperwork and a few extra steps. As she rattled off the list of required documents and procedures, I began to suspect she'd been planning this for a very long time. Of course, so had I. After we got the license, I suggested a simple, small wedding. Chloe had originally wanted the same thing, but her anger at my family had changed her mind. She wanted a massive, spectacular celebration. Ethan, I won't let you be wronged, she declared, her jaw set. Whatever other people have, you will have, and whatever they don't have, you'll have that too. I smiled and shook my head. I don't feel wronged. A big wedding is just so much trouble. Honestly, I would have preferred to elope and travel. Simple, easy, no fuss. But Chloe shot down the idea. We can travel for our honeymoon. The wedding has to be perfect. I was about to argue, but she puffed out her cheeks. Please, just give me a chance to do this for you. You won't have to worry about a thing. I'll handle everything. All you have to do is show up and be the handsome groom. When Chloe turned on the charm, my willpower crumbled to dust. Afraid of all the hassle just moments before, I was now completely convinced she was right. We didn't tell my father or stepmother about the wedding, but the grand scale of Chloe's plans meant the news reached them anyway. Leo and my stepmother started spreading rumors all over town, calling me an ungrateful traitor who abandoned his family as soon as he hooked a rich girl. I ignored them. I figured our relationship was so toxic that they would have the decency to stay away. I was wrong. On my wedding day, they showed up. My father, looking smug in a tailored suit, announced, "Ethan, I'm your father. Of course I'd be here for something as important as your wedding." Leo stood beside him, smiling. "Ethan, Mom and Dad and I are all here to wish you and Chloe the best. We've really missed you guys." Missed me? Right. What Leo really missed was Chloe, and I noticed he was wearing a deep blue suit nearly identical to mine. To anyone who didn't know better, he could have passed for the groom. Chloe and I were at the entrance greeting guests. When she saw Leo's outfit, her eyes practically shot flames. "Leo, do you really think you're worthy of stealing Ethan's spotlight? You can either go home, or you can change that ridiculous suit." Leo looked at her with a wounded expression. "Chloe, it's not that serious. I just wanted everyone to know that Ethan and I are brothers." Chloe was normally the picture of grace and elegance, but when someone crossed her line, she could be terrifyingly fierce. Seeing Leo play the victim, she immediately signaled for security. "Get him out of here." When Leo saw the burly guards approaching, one of whom he seemed to recognize as the lifeguard from the pool, the color drained from his face. He scrambled behind my stepmother. Her own face stiffened. Then she forced a smile. "Chloe, darling, it's your wedding day. Let's not let a little misunderstanding from Leo ruin it." She turned to him. "Honey, go change your clothes. Now." As the guests continued to file into the ballroom, Chloe fought the urge to have the entire family thrown out. If Leo were capable of behaving himself, he wouldn't be Leo. Just before the ceremony was about to begin, I was feeling a little nervous and ducked into a restroom to collect myself. Leo followed me in. He hadn't changed his suit, and he'd even styled his hair exactly like mine. On closer inspection, though, his suit was clearly a cheap imitation. I realized then that my own suit wasn't a designer brand. It was custom-made. It fit perfectly, breathable and comfortable without being tight anywhere. But that was a detail you'd only notice up close. From a distance, Leo and I looked almost identical. "Leo, what the hell do you think you're doing?" It was my wedding day. Seeing him dressed as my clone would piss off anyone, and I was no exception. Leo preened in front of the mirror, smoothing his hair with a smug grin. "What am I doing?" "Exactly what you think I'm doing. I'm going to take your place. I'm going to be the one who marries Chloe." I almost had to admire his audacity. "Are you brain dead? Chloe is head over heels for me. She's literally allergic to every other man on the planet. You really think she won't know it's you?" A sinister smile spread across Leo's face, which he quickly morphed into a bright one. "Chloe, you're here." I glanced in the direction he was looking. No one was there. My stomach dropped. It was a trick. In a flash, Leo was out the door, and I heard the click of the lock. Then came the scraping sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. He was barricading the door. The man was insane. He wouldn't even need to get close. Chloe would know he wasn't me from 30 feet away, but the thought of him ruining our ceremony filled me with a cold dread. To make matters worse, I'd left my phone outside. This restroom was in a secluded corner of the venue. Yelling would do no good. I'd gone in with less than half an hour until the start of the wedding. Time was ticking away. I threw my shoulder against the door again and again, but it wouldn't budge. Just as I was about to give up hope, the door swung open. Chloe stood there like an avenging angel. "You? How did you know I was in here? Does it hurt?" she asked, her voice laced with concern as she brushed the dust from my pant leg. "Your foot. Should we postpone the wedding?" I quickly helped her up. Her custom-made white wedding gown was a work of art. Getting it dirty would be a crime. "Humph, you're good-for-nothing brother," she seethed, her lovely face contorted with anger. I knew he was going to pull something the moment I saw him. I had someone tailing him. I always thought of her as this brilliant, but slightly love-crazy woman, but I'd underestimated her cunning. It occurred to me to ask, "So where is he now?" Chloe linked her arm through mine, a triumphant smile on her face. "He wanted a wedding so badly? Well, I gave him one." She pulled out her phone and showed me a live feed from a security camera. "There's a smaller ballroom downstairs," she explained. "I had it set up just in case." On the screen, I saw a shabbily decorated wedding scene. A woman, her build similar to Chloe's, was walking down the aisle in a wedding dress. The ballroom itself was tiny, with only 7 or 8 tables, a stark contrast to the 188 tables in the main hall upstairs. My father and stepmother were seated at one of the tables downstairs, their expressions sour. They clearly hadn't expected Chloe's wedding to be so modest. Before they had time to process, the ceremony began. Leo and the fake Chloe approached each other from opposite ends of the aisle. Leo, playing the part of the imposter, kept his head slightly bowed. The bride's face was obscured by a thick veil. After they exchanged vows, a group of hired extras erupted in cheers, chanting for them to kiss. With a trembling hand and a heart full of excitement, Leo slowly lifted the bride's veil. When he saw her face, he froze. He shoved her away. "You're not Chloe. Who the hell are you?" The bride's face fell. "Leo, don't you remember? You came to the salon for a haircut that day, and then She gave him a coy, knowing smile. "About 2 weeks later, I found out I was downstairs." The drama was reaching a fever pitch. When Leo and his family tried to leave, they found the ballroom doors locked from the outside. Upstairs, Chloe's real wedding was a dazzling spectacle. She had truly arranged everything, just as she'd promised. I was little more than a handsome prop. A famous pop star sang a ballad for us. Then Chloe changed into a shorter dress and performed a stunning modern dance number with her 7 beautiful bridesmaids. They swirled around me, a whirlwind of grace and beauty. I had to apologize to the kings of history. I finally understood how a man could lose his kingdom for a woman. Chloe was a force of nature, transitioning from the dance to a breathtaking solo on the violin. After the reception ended and the guests had departed, Chloe finally had the guards unlock the doors to the other ballroom. Leo was the first one out, storming up to Chloe. "How could you do this to me, Chloe? You've ruined my reputation." Chloe took a step back, her expression one of pure disgust. "Who gave you permission to call me that? Stay away from me." My father, simmering with a day's worth of rage, marched over. "Chloe, you need to reconsider," he said, his voice low and menacing. "Leo is a much better man than Ethan. Besides, I bet you don't know that Ethan has a medical problem. He can't have children. In the past, my father had just been biased. Now, he was actively trying to destroy me. A tiger won't eat its own cub, they say." I started to seriously wonder if I'd been switched at birth. But they had severely underestimated Chloe Sterling. She tightened her grip on my arm. In her heels, she was nearly 6 feet tall and towered over my father. "Whether he can have children or not is none of your business," she said, looking down at him. "As long as I can be with Ethan, I'd be perfectly happy being child-free. It would just mean more time for the two of us." Seeing that Chloe was impervious to his attacks, my father turned to her dad. "Frank, talk some sense into her. What good is a man who can't give you grandchildren? Chloe is your only child." Unfortunately for him, he didn't realize where Chloe got her stubborn streak. Her father just scoffed. "I'm not passing down a throne here. I don't care if I have heirs or not. It's their decision. If my daughter decided she wanted to get her tubes tied right here, right now, I wouldn't stop her." The words left my father speechless. Just then, a group of uniformed police officers walked into the now empty ballroom. "We're looking for a Mr. Leo Vance." The moment he saw the cops, Leo panicked. He looked desperately at Chloe. She just stood there, beaming with pride, her face practically screaming, "Tell me I'm brilliant." Chloe walked up to the lead officer and played the video from her phone. "Officer, Leo Vance premeditated a plan to take my husband's place at our wedding. He then locked my husband, Ethan Vance, in a small restroom, causing him immense emotional and psychological distress. I want to press charges for fraud, unlawful imprisonment, and assault. And just so we're clear, I will not be mediating, and I will not be accepting any settlement." Seeing how determined Chloe was, and with the video evidence being indisputable, the officers had no choice but to take Leo in for questioning. As 2 officers flanked him, Leo realized this was real. He scrambled behind my father. "Dad, say something. I was just joking around with my brother and Chloe. I don't want to go to jail." My stepmother rushed over to Chloe. "Chloe, please, for my sake, just forgive your brother this one time." When Chloe remained unmoved, my stepmother turned to me. "Ethan, say something. If your brother goes to prison, his life will be ruined." My father, his face a mask of desperation, came over as well. "Chloe, please. If Leo goes to prison, it will be on his record. Your future children won't be able to get government jobs. I'm begging you, as your father-in-law. Weren't you the one who said he couldn't have children? Chloe retorted, her voice dripping with sarcasm. My father's face flushed. I was just talking nonsense. Don't pay any attention to that. Leo really can't go to prison. Please, I'm begging you. And with that, my father dropped to his knees. I never saw that coming. Even with our terrible relationship, having your father-in-law kneel before you is an immense pressure. Chloe deftly sidestepped, so she wasn't directly in front of him. Then she turned to me with a wry, sad smile. Honey, my own father-in-law is on his knees, begging for his rival's son. Dad, I said, my voice flat, I almost have to admire you. You're a truly forgiving man. Chloe signaled for the security guards, who gently helped my father to his feet. She then handed him a manila folder. I didn't know what was inside, but after my father read it, he exploded. He lunged at my stepmother, his face purple with rage. You bitch! You brought that man's son into my house and made me raise him for all these years. It turned out that during Chloe's private investigation into their background, she had uncovered something shocking. Leo wasn't my father's son. He was the son of my stepmother's ex-boyfriend. She had timed the pregnancy perfectly to trick my father into thinking he was his. In the real world, who thinks to get a paternity test? He had raised that boy for over 20 years. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Leo helped his mother up. Dad, what are you doing? Hearing that word, my father snapped. He grabbed Leo by the collar. Don't you call me Dad, you little bastard. You're not my son. I always wondered how I could have a son so shameless, so conniving he'd try to steal his own brother's bride at his wedding. Now I know. You're his son. You learned it all from your scumbag father. The scene nearly devolved into a brawl, but the officers managed to restore some semblance of order. After Leo was taken away, all the fight seemed to drain out of my father. He stood there, tears streaming down his face. Ethan, he wept, I was wrong, so terribly wrong. I just shook my head. Dad, you raised me, and I'm grateful for that. I'll send you money every month. But that's it. Unless it's a life or death emergency, don't contact me. With that, I took Chloe's hand, and we walked away. Later, through Chloe's sources, I heard that my father divorced my stepmother soon after. The police investigation revealed that Leo had a long history of defrauding young women out of their money and affections. With multiple charges against him, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison. On the day of his sentencing, my stepmother collapsed in the courtroom. At the hospital, she was diagnosed with late-stage kidney failure. I didn't follow what happened to her after that, thanks to the fact that Leo wasn't my biological brother. His criminal record had no bearing on the future of any children Chloe and I might have. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, I crawled out of our wedding bed and stumbled toward the bathroom. I finally understood why a wedding dress is the most beautiful thing a woman will ever wear, but also why she'll only wear it once. A few more nights like this, and I'd be a dead man.